at 5:35, right?
I don't need this. This is junior council stuff.
That's from last week.
Okay. Nobody throws anything? Okay.
It's now 5:35. We are gathered here today in North Miami for our regularly scheduled CRA meeting. Today is, I believe, it's October 12th? 13.
November, actually.
Ah. At least it's not Friday.
No.
Right? Friday the 13th. Let's proceed with roll call.
Board Member Galvin?
Here.
Board Member Keys?
Here.
Board Member Desume? Board Member Bien-Aimé? Chairman Joseph?
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll stand up now for Pledge of Allegiance led by our dear officer.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with the approval of the last minute. Do we have a copy? Last meeting was what date, Miss?
October 9th.
October 9th. Do we have a
I'll make
motion?
a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Do I have a second? I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to approve the minutes from October 9th. That motion was seconded by Board Member Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Agenda item 1 is about resolution to transfer 549,440
Yes, sir.
to housing.
Yes. Good evening.
We have copies of the junior council meeting agenda, but
Can I start, Mr.
Well,
Mayor?
yeah.
You don't have the.
It's in
on
the
your
book.
tablet.
It's in the
It's in your
tablet.
tablet. If you scroll all the way at the bottom after the city council, you'll see CRA.
After on the same.
Yeah, if you scroll, you'll see.
CRA. So you're on item one?
Okay.
We're going paperless, so. Okay, hold on, I'm waiting.
I'll read it.
Yes, please do.
A resolution of the chairman and board member of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency approving the funding the city of North Miami's residential rehabilitation program in the amount not to exceed $549,440,000 for the fiscal year 2018-2019 and providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Before you is a resolution to approve transferring $549,440 to the city's housing division. As you may recall, part of our 2016 interlocal agreement is for us to make investments in housing initiatives, specifically in our interlocal, rehabbing a minimum of 70 very low and low income housing units by 2024. At the last fiscal year, we funded the city's housing division with $1,109,000, which would have funded 59 rehabs. Before you is the 10% requirement that we need to provide for this fiscal year 18-19. Out of that, $220,000 will be designated to finish the remaining 11 single-family rehab, and the rest of it will be determined by priorities set by you moving forward. Additionally, we fund half a housing inspector and half a housing coordinator to manage this program. At the November 5th meeting, the North Miami Advisory Committee recommended unanimously to fund this project. And also, Ms. Marie Ferrantz is here if you have any questions or would like information about the past or the future projects.
Oh, I thought you had a report,
No,
presentation.
I don't have a report.
Okay. No, he said he has a question.
You said half of the money, how much of the 549 will be?
220,000 of that will be set aside for 11 homes. The grant program that we fund through the city's housing division is a $20,000 rehab grant maximum. And for us to meet our goal with the county, as per the interlocal, is we need to do a minimum of 70 homes. So funding these additional 11 homes will make us meet our goal, and then the extra,
For this year, how much?
549,440, and out of that, 220,000 will go specifically for single-family rehab. That doesn't mean the rest of it doesn't go towards it. You, the manager has said that you will dictate the priorities on how you want to use the rest of the funding. It could be also for single-family rehab, but for our purposes, to meet our goals with the county, we need to get to the 70.
But why don't we allocate the entire money for?
It is
home
your prerogative.
rehabilitation?
It is your prerogative. The manager, Mr. Spring had said that that would be your prerogative, how you want to fund.
But you said put aside money for salary and personal?
No, that's in
Not
addition
fund.
to. In addition to this amount, we fund half a housing coordinator and half a housing inspector.
But that's in addition to the
That's in addition to the
549.
549,
500.
440, yes.
But as of the way it is right now, the 549 is not to rehab, is not 100% to go on
It is to,
rehab.
it is to go towards housing initiatives.
Okay.
And like I said, Ms. Marie's here to explain.
I would like to,
Yeah, it
Mr.
might be
Mayor,
good
to
if you
put a
gave an
quick
explanation.
an
or
amendment to make
presentation.
sure. But if it's not, then I will make a motion to approve the
If,
item where 100% of the money will go toward and single-family home rehabilitation. For
okay, before we vote, let's
Yeah.
move. Let's open it to the public. If anyone in the public wishes to be heard on the item 1, I see none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed. The quick question that I have, I see that you put this is a 17-18. That's from 17-18 fiscal year.
No, 18, 19.
Okay,
This is
so
for
we
the
have to
fiscal
correct that in the
Where does it
resolution.
say that?
In the whereases.
Okay.
The whereases to that end, the North Miami CRA board previously approved
Yes,
in the fiscal year 17-18 the amount of 549.
yeah,
So it is from 17-18 money.
no. It's
No?
18, 19.
No,
You
it's
are
actually
correct.
just referring to the
Steven.
past.
Stephen, there's a typo, the mayor caught a typo in the fourth
You gotta be on the
whereas.
microphone, Rasha.
There's a fourth, on the fourth whereas, so it should say 18, 19,
So it would be
budget,
19.
not 17, 18 budget.
Good catch, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
catch. Says it everywhere
Where-
else,
where
but
is
that's the
that?
only one.
The
The fourth whereas.
second page.
Oh, there. Previous approval of fiscal
Okay.
year. Okay.
So there is no public hearing is closed. So there is a motion by
Second for discussion.
Hmm.
Quick question. So as the, as the resolution is presented, the 549,000 is going toward home rehabs and other related projects. The costs for the staff are on top of that. Do you have a figure on how much those staff members cost?
Combined, it's $72,000, because we're paying 50% of two
The city
different,
split.
plus including benefits.
Okay. So overall, we're looking at a measure that's a little bit north of $600,000 tonight.
Yes, sir.
No, that's not
Well, no,
right.
you're only approving the transfer of the funds to do the rehab. The staffing was part of the budget that you had approved. We've been funding the staffing for the past 2 years already.
So why is the language included if there's
It's just for
separated?
you to know that it is part of, we are already additionally funding the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Vice Mayor, have any
Yeah,
comment?
I have a question. So we're looking to put this all in single-family rehab?
Yes.
So question to Rasha, do we have any other projects? Have you had any other requests for CRA funds to help rehab duplexes, quadplexes, multifamily?
Yes, I mean, the Housing Division has received several other requests to look at multifamily rehabs. We are looking at right now creating a guideline for it. We don't have a set guideline on how to fund multifamily rehab. I know Marie, Ms. Ferenc, they're looking at other opportunities. I think Ms. Sejour is looking at elderly rehab and other kind of different projects. But for now, since we don't have the guidelines for that, I can't, we can't entertain any requests yet. We're working on the new guidelines for like multifamily for when they come and apply.
And duplexes, quads, some of the smaller multifamily?
Duplexes is considered, Marie France Jean Farron's Housing and Social Services Manager. Duplexes are considered single family. We move to commercial when it becomes triplexes.
So do you have any triplexes or quads or anything that needs some help?
Well, it will have to be gone through the process of multifamily rehab because duplexes are considered owner occupied, providing that the owner occupied the other side, and as long they are generating revenue, we do not have a problem. But the minute that the owner is not occupying the other side of the duplex, it becomes commercial, then this is when we go into the commercial rehab, multifamily.
So in the next couple of months, we will be bringing to you for your review guidelines for the multifamily for a proper process on how to apply and how to manage it.
So tonight, if we do the 549 plus the 72,000 for a salary of 621,000, so that's 19% of our net TIF revenue, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
is that, I mean, we have it set out budget-wise that we're giving 15%?
10%. We're required to provide 10%, a
Minimum.
minimum of 10%.
Minimum.
Yeah.
So this is 19%.
Yes, I mean, including with the staffing, yes.
All right.
I have a motion made by Board Member BNMA with the amendments to make sure that 100% of the fund will go towards single-family home rehabilitation. That motion was seconded by Board Member Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes with 4-0.
Next item. Is my mic not working today?
Item 2,
Uh,
is Cafe Creme
Yes.
agreement.
Before you is a request from Choquette's LLC doing businesses as Cafe Creme. They had received a grant in the amount of $250,000 to relocate to the downtown Nomi area. Thereafter, an additional $70,000 grant was provided for increased construction costs for a total of $320,000. Their move has been very beneficial to the image of the city and the CRA and to the downtown since its opening. It's attracted new audiences to the downtown. The ongoing renovation of the Mocha Plaza this summer negatively impacted their business, with construction debris and dust affecting the majority of their seating. The week of October 9th, we were obligated to close their outdoor seating so the contractors could replace the pavers and drainage, essentially shutting down Cafe Creme's business for the week. Additionally, they are burdened with the grant requirement of employing 30 North Miami residents, and at this time, they're not able to continue normal operations without an emergency relief from us. The request is to amend the grant agreement, reducing the minimum number of jobs required from 30 to 10 jobs for North Miami residents, and also to request an emergency relief not to exceed $60,000 to cover the cost of lost revenue, closing their business for at least 1 week and keeping 30 employees on payroll. A partial payment of $25,000 was made on October 12, 2018 to assist with the payroll. At the November 5th advisory committee meeting, the committee voted unanimously to recommend reducing the jobs requirement from 30 to 10 and voted 6-1 to approve the relief grant not to exceed $60,000. And the owners of Cafe Creme, Kogi Fino and Claude Postel are here as well if you have additional questions.
Mr. Chairman, through you to staff, the reduction of staff, is that considered to be a temporary reduction? And does that mean, A, is that a temporary reduction? And B, does that mean they're laying off staff to keep the restaurant open? In other words, they're not now giving those jobs to somebody else, those 20 jobs to somebody else?
They would be for the duration of the grant. They have a 5-year lien on the grant from the time they open, which is 2016. So it would be for the remainder of the grant term, which is till they're 3 years from now. The other question, I mean, we can ask them, but I know they've had to, lay off some people because of the stress of not having any business to make payroll. They will still staff it once business comes back up. But the issue is, if we require them to hold 30 jobs for North Miami residents and they don't have the business, then they would be in forfeit of the grant, and we would have to pretty much call the grant and have them pay it back because they're not in
So
compliance.
they're not 30 people employed there right now, and we're laying off 20 and then hiring 20 from outside the city.
No, they will make every effort to keep the employees for North Miami residents, no matter what. It's just we don't want to make it as a permanent requirement that they keep 30 North Miami residents on payroll. If that makes any sense. That's okay.
You have to be on.
Yeah, the item is now open to public hearing, for public hearing. For anyone in the audience who wants to be heard on the item, public hearing is still open, but I see none coming, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed. We'll entertain more concern, questions, and comments from the dais.
Move to approve?
Second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to approve agenda item number 2. That motion was seconded by Board Member Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Do we have an expected completion date for the Plaza project?
We are doing the final walkthrough with the contractor actually tomorrow morning with the punch list and so on. So we are hoping that everything will be done by Friday. I mean, if you've seen the landscaping, most importantly is we have to run the test on the lighting to make sure that everything is working properly in sequence, because that's the reason why we got these very nice, expensive lights. So as soon as that's finalized and we have no issues with the electronics, then we will schedule a ribbon cutting. But it should be done by this Friday.
So the actual Light Up North Miami event we have after Thanksgiving should be at a full plaza?
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, we believe we should be at a full
Yeah.
plaza.
Okay.
It's just testing the lighting. So. Okay. Next item.
Agenda item number 3.
Yes, before you is a business attraction grant request from Lost City Brewing Company. They are located at 12207 Northeast 13th Court. They will produce high-quality, innovative, fresh craft beer for the local community and distribute throughout regional distributors. They are leasing 4,000 square feet, out of which 1,000 square feet will be a tasting area and 3,000 square feet is for the production with a seating for less than 50 for the tasting. The brewery, however, will not produce or serve food on the premises, but they will be contracting with local restaurants that have agreed to deliver to the brewery for food services. This will allow local businesses to gain an extra revenue source while providing food options to the brewery patrons. The total cost of project construction is $550,993.62. Applicant is requesting a $300,000 grant as opposed to the original. Our business attraction grant allows for a $150,000 grant maximum, and they are requesting $300,000. If the board is to consider this grant request, they would need to, 1, waive the $150,000 grant maximum allowed for business attraction grant guidelines, 2, waive the 50-50 match requirement, and 3, review and approve the community benefits offered by the applicant, which I'm going to read for the record. Here we go.
So we don't need separate resolutions for those, Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Chairman, you can approve all of those waivers with the same motion.
December, okay.
Their letter dated October 31st. Lost City Brewing Company is proffering that after year 2 of being operational, they will hire residents from within the boundaries of the city of North Miami at a rate of a minimum of 3 positions per year, up to 10 positions by year 5. These positions will be part-time and will provide opportunities for workers to train, grow, and receive promotion within the company. They will extend their expertise, knowledge, and experiences in opening and operating a business with future, current, and aspiring entrepreneurs of North Miami. This aid would be in the form of seminars and workshops provided to the North Miami community in conjunction with the North Miami CRA. They will build and foster relationships with FIU and Johnson & Wales by hiring and training interns in the varying skills needed to run a microbrewery and manage a tasting room. This relationship will endeavor to ensure that graduates from both university programs apply these newly acquired skills in businesses within the North Miami community. At the November 5th Advisory Committee, the board recommended with a 7-to-1 vote to, one, waive the grant guidelines for the $150,000 grant maximum, and two, a grant not to exceed $277,996. The owners and operators of Lost City Brewery are here, and also if you were at the Nomi Brew Fest, they were present and providing their products at the Brew Fest. So they are here if you have any questions.
What is the name of the Lost City?
So, our product line is meant to pay tribute. Oh, I'm sorry. Christopher Campos, Lost City Brewing Company, CEO. I'm sorry?
Go ahead now with the
Oh, sure. Did you ask why is Lost City named Lost City?
No,
Okay,
the name of
just
the.
being sure.
Is it,
So,
is it Gotham?
so the product line that we're offering is meant to pay tribute to history. History of the beverage, history of the regions that the beverages originated from, and history of cultural ingredients. So, as such, each beer will tell a story. We have beers such as our Flan Sweet Stout, which pays tribute to our own culture, our lemongrass blonde ale, and we do traditional styles as well, such as Pilsner, Marzen. Those come from Germany, and as well other styles from Belgium, such as a wit, a triple, a blonde ale, Belgian blonde ale. So the name Lost City pays tribute to each of these traditional ingredients, and lost and known. Our motto is join the expedition.
All right. I got my answer.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval.
I have a question.
hearing first.
Not yet.
Public
I have a
hearing is
question.
open. Let's open public hearing and close it. Anyone in the public who wishes to be heard, please come forth. I see none here, none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
My question, how long you been in business?
We are not open for business yet. We are a startup. We have been leasing a space for a year and a half. Currently, we've been in county permitting since July. We are hopeful to get through county before the end of the year. And otherwise, our brewing experience and our experience with the brewing industry stretches back as early as 2011 that we've been researching this. I've worked in breweries in Panama, in Colombia, as well as one of my other partners worked those with me. He also has taken brewing courses from the Siebel Institute.
That's when that would be your first.
Yes.
That would be the first one.
Yes.
Okay. Who's applying for the grant? The tenant or
The
the
tenant.
tenant is applying for it?
Yes, Lost City
Yes.
Brewery
You
is the tenant.
Or you own the building also?
No, they're
No,
leasing.
no.
You're leasing the building?
I'm leasing the building.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What is the owner of the building?
They're not.
Do they have a lease for how long?
They have a lease. It's for at least 5 years.
Why is it?
It's 5 years with 2 5-year
Year
options.
And the project is $550,000?
The total cost of project from now to build out and when they
And the
open
board
it.
approve over 50% of,
The advisory committee recommended just waiving the 150 guideline and not the 50/50, so that's why it's at
your
277,996.
the recommendation is how much?
From the advisory committee, $277,996, which would be the 50/50 of the 555.
And my problem with it, we're happy that you come into North Miami, and that would be your first time opening a brewery. That's why I'm kind of scared of giving you 60% of the money in order for you to open up in North Miami. Can we have a contract with them and giving them the money after they spend the first 300,000?
Well, our grant is a reimbursement basis, so for them to come and apply and get reimbursed, if it's 555,000, we're do it in 4 payments. Every time they submit for reimbursement, they have to show us that they spent their 50%, and we get canceled checks and release of liens and so on and so forth. And the final payment, which is about 20% of the grant, is once they get their final CO and they get their BTRNT and they open.
When you invoice for 50,000,
They have to have paid.
spend about 100,000.
Yes, no, so they would submit a bill for 100,000 and ask for 50,000. That's how it works. And I have to see canceled checks and release of liens to show that the contractor got paid, and things like that. And the final payment is tied to them getting their final CO from the building department and then opening up and getting their CU and their BTR.
Do you have a bank statement or bank account showing that
The canceled
they have
checks.
substantial money
Well, no.
at the bank in order to give them the 300,000?
We generally don't ask for bank statements, because they
They're
could
asking
be.
you for $300,000 and they said they're gonna spend 250, but don't you check if at least they have the money available?
We committed to a 5-year lease with 2 5-year options. So if we don't have the money, we're gonna be in big trouble. We spent over $80,000 already getting this project open and leasing the property for over a year. Currently, we put more money into this project every single day. If we didn't have the funds, we would not have ventured into this project.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
would be more.
We've never.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, if you would like the applicant to provide, proof of equity, I mean, I'm sure we can ask for that as part of the approval.
It's not like we're against the project.
And
It's gonna be the
I've
first time
requested a
and
copy of the lease, I
it's
haven't
over
seen it yet.
50%. You don't even have a copy of the lease?
I sent a
do.
copy of the
We have it
lease
in the office.
in
Okay,
It's
so
not,
June.
staff has
but-
it, I just haven't seen it.
But the attorney for CRA said he requested it, and
Staff has it.
Staff has it.
Staff has it. They
You
haven't
haven't emailed
submitted
it to
him.
him. I will make sure it's done now.
May I will go with that, a maximum of 200,000. Maybe later, if we feel like there is a need now, we are at 75–80% accomplishment, and they can come back and ask for a little bit more. But I would be more comfortable with 200,000 maximum for now. If there is a need, we always can come back. If you spend your 200,000 and not 200,000, and there's a need for an extra 50–60,000, you always can come back and ask for it.
Right.
But just because it's the first time that you try to open the brewery, we will be more comfortable to give you less money to start.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I have a few questions to the, our attorney. One, we're waiving the spending limit, and we're waiving the 50/50, but isn't the 50/50 on construction costs? Because there's a $556,000, bill here, itemization of everything that's gonna cost, but you've got impact fees, startup money, working capital, so it's really not, I don't think we're supposed to be giving money towards that or using that in the equation, but
I'm sorry,
It's-
Councilwoman, it is in our guideline.
It's approved as part of what your guidelines say you can spend the money on.
You guys are
It's a
really
portion,
soft tonight.
it's a portion of it, it's not, I mean, you wouldn't give a grant and just pay rent and impact fees. But it's a portion of it can go towards that.
so
So,
if we're
but Rasha
doing-
has the
we're doing a f-
guidelines here, with respect to the question about the 50/50, Ms. Camo, is it just for construction or is it overall project cost?
Overall project
That's
costs.
what I thought, it's overall project costs on the 50/50.
because the construction is 259, and I would be
Correct.
comfortable at the I would be comfortable at the construction 250, 259. Also, what's the payback provision of this loan? It's not a loan.
It's not a loan, it's a grant,
It's a grant.
but the provision is basically, it's a clawback provision required by our interlocal with the county, and it's something we've always required in our grant agreements over the years. We have about I would say a dozen different events of default. If those events of default occur, the entire amount of the grant needs to be paid back to the CRA.
But
For-
you have a tenant, so the likelihood of payback is not very great.
Well, this is true. We do put we have a security interest in all of the personal property and improvements that the grant goes to provide, as well as all in their security interests in their bank accounts, security interests, and all the other typical UCC collateral that you would get in connection with a loan, and that's perfected by a UCC that's filed with the state and on the property.
Okay, so
And we get the landlord to waive the landlord's lien so that we're in a first position.
so we're gonna do all that with the UCC. But I see equipment's only at about 40,000. What item?
No, I'm sorry, the equipment is 90,000.
Is that the brew house?
Yes.
91?
Yes, that is the brewing equipment. Fermenters, tanks for carbonation.
I was just gonna ask what that number was, because you have
Yeah.
other equipment, which is about another 50,000.
Yeah, so there's a production area, there's a tasting area, so there's a service side of the industry, there's a production side to it. There's also improvements to restrooms. We're constructing 2 ADA compliant restrooms.
But I'm talking fixtures that we could put a lien on.
Yes,
So it would
yeah,
be
there are
91
fixtures.
plus about-
Yes,
so it'd be about
lighting,
140.
fans, extraction fans, intake fans. There's going to be a vast amount of items placed into this building that could all be liquidated.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on Board Member Keyes' question, I would just like the applicant then to put on the record that the remaining funds for the project are being paid out of the developer's equity, and there's not going to be any other financing on the property that would have a lien that would be in front of ours.
All right.
But that's only on the UCC,
Correct, but if they're getting a bank loan, the bank's going to require a UC. They're going to perfect a security interest in the personal
So ours will
property as
be-
well.
ours will be a first? They'll submit
Well, that's what I want to
inventory?
establish, that there's not going to be any other financing on the property.
And what about the landlord? They're not on the hook for anything?
No. The landlord signs a landlord certificate, basically consenting to the grant, consenting to the work being done to the property, and waiving the statutory landlord's lien that they would have under Florida statutes.
All right.
And that's a condition to getting the grant.
So you've asked them to
So
put that on the record tonight.
I'm
Are
asking
they
the
putting that
question,
on the
is
record
there,
tonight?
is there any other financing that's being sought for the project, or is the
No,
remain-
everything else is being funded by us.
Thank you.
So could you do it 260,000, which is your cost of construction?
Can I do? Well, that would pay for construction. For equipment, we definitely would have to come up with the money somewhere else. But, I mean, as you guys see fit and approve,
So how,
approval.
Mr. Chairman, if we're gonna be behind them to make this happen, let's be behind them to make this happen. If we just piecemeal it, we're setting everybody
You're
up
setting
to
them for
potentially
failure.
fail.
No, but
Um, So my thought is, if we're concerned that 3 months from now, the project is failing, or 6 months from now, the project is failing, why don't we ask staff to continuously bring us back a report 2 months, 3 months, 4 months out to let us know where things are, so that if things are veering off, if we've given them this money and then, 3 months from now, they're just making no progress and we feel like this is a project we should now pull the plug on, we can then pull the plug on. I've seen this body put regular scheduled checkups as part of the agreement, so that if we're concerned that things aren't progressing, we have the ability to not waste any more money, so to speak. But I don't wanna see us give them the money for construction and then not the equipment, because then how do they open a brewery? They can have a facade that has a nice sign out front, but they can't actually make the beer, and that's the important part.
I should also note that the federal government's already permitted us to make beer. process that normally takes 2 to 7 months. We applied for it in advance, and they've given us the go-ahead. This is normally the thing that keeps breweries waiting to open long after they're completely built out and fully functional.
That and the county Durham permitting.
Yes, Durham is almost done. We've been in Durham since July.
Okay, well, if you can put this in the way of an amendment, I will second it, because I think, yeah, we pretty much could go on a periodic, checkup approach.
Staff, what would you
Yeah.
say is a realistic period of review for us? I mean, monthly, every 2 months?
Well, I mean, as soon as they get their permitting from Durham is when actually the clock would start in terms of the contract, the construction aspect of it. So you said you were gonna get it by,
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of the year. I mean, again, Durham County, they kind of follow the toot of their own horn. But yeah, right now we're just waiting on one last thing to get the assurance that we're going to get an approval mark from Durham. Fire, we've already resolved it, so the second it goes through, it's going to get the approval mark. PWIF's already made their assessment, and WASA is only waiting for Durham's approval remark.
Mr. Chair, and through to Board Member Galvin, it is a reimbursable grant, so they're gonna have to come and show us progress as they go along. And as we see the progress, we're cutting the check. So we'll know, not one single check's gonna get cut until they come and show us that they spent $100,000. Then we say, okay, here's 50.
I'm looking to build something into the agreement tonight to when we review, because I hear what Board Member Yeneme is saying. We don't want to throw all this money at them, and then 3-4 months from now, there's nothing has opened, and we're looking at each other going, well, why did we give that organization all this money? Nothing's happened. So when do you think is realistic to bring it back to us? I ask that of staff.
I would say every quarter.
Every quarter?
I would just like to add, through the chair, that the grant agreement itself, and I can pull it up here and look at it, has a requirement that construction starts within 90 days from the date that the grant agreement is entered into, and that the project needs to be completed within a year after that 90-day, after it starts. And if it's not, then the CRA's obligation to fund the rest of the grant terminates.
After that 1 year,
It's a default if they don't finish within a year.
Board Member Galvin, if you like, we could do bi-monthly updates. I mean, every 2 meetings, every other
I'd be willing to
meeting,
do that.
we'll update you on what the status of their progress is and moving forward, just to keep everyone in the loop. And I'm sure they
Yes.
wouldn't have an issue with that and us
Not at all.
moving forward.
Sure, I defer to Board Member Yeneme if he's okay with every 2 months,
A quarter is fine.
every 3 months.
every
Yeah.
quarter.
So I'll make a motion that we insert a provision that every quarter, starting January of 2019, a status report be brought back to this board so we can be
And
informed.
by way of status report, will we be, I kind of would like for the individuals from Lost City to come and give the status update on where they're at, to inform you in person.
It's better if
yeah.
staff tell us that, because they're
Okay.
gonna say
Well,
everything's
we'll have
great
them
all
here.
along. They're never gonna come and say, well, we're
We'll
failing,
have-
things are
I
really
got
going down the
Provide a report with
tubes,
pictures
we
and
need
stuff.
staff to be
So
on top of
we'll
it.
have the report with photos and everything moving forward.
because we have to take pictures during construction
Okay.
for the file, so we'll provide that as well.
I have a second.
For what amount? For
My
which amount?
my amendment was to ask that we have a quarterly report starting in January 2019.
And I second that.
Okay, I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to, with the amendment to have a quarterly report brought back to, I'm sorry, to bring back a quarterly report starting January 2019.
Excuse me, Madam Clerk, was the original motion made by Board Member Bieneme? No.
No,
Yeah,
Okay.
Board Member Galvin.
We first have to
That was
approve
right,
the
yeah.
amendment, and then we'd have to have a motion to approve the overall
Okay.
Do
grant.
we have an amount on that motion?
That was just the amendment.
For the amendment,
No, for the whole,
well, first the amendment has to pass, and if the amendment doesn't pass, then
oh.
there's
Okay.
no motion on the table that I'm
I see.
aware of that,
Not yet.
for the
No.
overall project.
Okay.
Get the roll call.
That motion was, I'm sorry? That motion was seconded by Mayor, Board Member, Board Member Joseph, Chair Member Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, is there a question?
So we're moving forward with the first vote, which is gonna be for them to approve the,
Status report.
no, not the status
Yes,
report,
my-
to waive the 50-50
No,
match.
no, no, no.
No.
Allow me to clarify my motion. My
Okay.
motion is to amend the proposal this evening to add a quarterly report starting in January 2019, period, end of sentence.
Okay. But do you think that the other motion should have been made first to defer the 150?
If you give me 30 seconds and let's see if this gets passed, I'm ready to make a series of other motions.
I mean, technically, yes, the other motion should be
The other motion should
disposed
be
of
made
first,
first,
but
because
since we have I don't even know if we got a second for discussion purposes on
Mayor
BNM.
seconded. Yeah. Board member.
Your motion.
No.
Good lord, guys, this is why the city has issues with us. We can't even make a
Okay,
series of
let's
clear-
go ahead and
He withdrew his
vote on the
motion and then
amendment
Vote on
to the
amendment.
proposal, okay? Go ahead.
All right. Should I repeat it? I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to amend agenda item number 3 with the proposal to add a quarterly report starting January 2018. That motion was 2019. I apologize. 2019. That motion was seconded by Board Member Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
I did make a motion, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the item as presented by staff for the costs of both construction and equipment.
I second that.
Yep.
As presented. What's the amount, Miss?
300,000.
What, I thought it was, the recommendation was, oh, that's not the CRA
The
recommendation.
advisory committee recommended 277, 992. But the request was for 300,000. They made the recommendation. You can choose to follow
I
it or
make a
not.
motion for what the organization is requesting. We're either with this or we're not with this. We can't.
And here's where we need to just clarify that the motion and the second include the waiver of the $150,000 maximum grant amount and the 50-50 requirement.
Yes.
Just to clarify.
Mm.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to approve agenda item number 3 with as presented by staff for the amount of 300,000. That motion was seconded by Board Member Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 3-0.
No,
3-1.
3-1, I'm sorry, 3-1.
Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Chairman, through you, I'd also like to ask staff to bring back at our future CRA board meeting, just doing away with that $150,000 level. We keep bumping against it. It's a self-imposed maximum. And we've quote unquote gone over it dozens of times, Pollo Tropical, et cetera. Back when we had a small budget, it made sense to have it there. Now that we're rolling in those dollars, that's a sort of small threshold.
So Commissioner, it is actually on the December agenda to amend the guidelines for larger scale projects. They're, down to the wire, so they needed to be approved. Bless you. Bless you.
Bless you.
But yeah, it is in there for larger scale projects.
Can I also make a
That's in
motion for
December.
Love City to bring samples of every beer to every single
Tonight.
meeting?
Were you
Yeah,
not at the
tonight.
Brew Fest?
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
I'll see you guys in January.
All right.
All right.
Make mine flan.
Flan. Yeah, nothing until after the opening. All right.
All righty.
Last item. Thank you.
All
Good
right.
luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's it. Motion. Any reports?
The only item that I'd like to mention is tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, the CRA board will be hosting a groundbreaking ceremony of the Irons Manor fountain, restoration and renovation. So I'd like to make the announcement to the public so that they are aware. It's tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Tomorrow at 3.
Thank you.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. We'll reconvene at 7 p.m. for our regularly scheduled council meeting.